Spirit Sports Consultants presents
NFL Week 7 all-game picks and best bets. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. We thought we'd get Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow here, but to no avail. We're going to have to focus on Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco. And Rodgers has quietly led the Steelers to a first-place start. Looks like they may have built up enough of an edge to keep the Ravens from catching them by the time all the Ravens players are back healthy, if they ever play like they did in 2023 and 2024. And we're curious to see what Joe Flacco can do in a Bengals uniform. Played okay against the Packers, but that's just a way better team than what the Bengals have right now. We think this is going to come down to the Steelers just being that much better with Aaron Rodgers and the team that's playing well on defense, playing well all over the place. We like them here 24-14 over the home Bengals. And next up, we have a few position changes. We've taken a deeper dive at the data, and we come up with a few changes, the first of which is the Colts at the Chargers. We love Justin Herbert. We love Jim Harbaugh and that offense, and then we think Justin Herbert's a top 10 quarterback. As his number indicates, we haven't featured him in top 10 quarterbacks in 2025. Take a look at that video. But we think what Indiana Jones is doing this season can no longer be ignored. We were wondering, we're not going to give him credit too early. When we look at the numbers here, the breakdown what the Colts have versus the Chargers, they have a point differential of 13 to the Chargers net 0. We think that's got to hold up here. They're playing indoors in a dome environment. We like the Colts here for the road win. We think it's great. They're underdogs. Take the 1.5. We like the Colts in this one. Dolphins at the Browns, two teams going nowhere in 2025, rebuilding for 2026 or later in the case of the Browns, who might be eyeing that new stadium being opened up in what year, 2028, 2029. When we look at the Dolphins, we were based here in South Florida, very disappointing season. Tua, again, we think there's something wrong with his hip that's going to preclude him from ever putting up the numbers like he did in the past. And now with Tyreek out, it's an offense that's really one-dimensional. And then when we look at the Browns, we think Dylan Gabriel's definitely got potential. We've seen some flashes there, but obviously being a rookie coming in early in the season, we got Shadur Sanders behind him. We're not sure if either of these guys can make much of a difference. We think on a nasty weather day, which is the forecast now, it's going to come down to the best running back. We think the Dolphins have that in Devon Achane. We think that's going to make the difference in what should be a low-scoring, ugly game because of the weather. 17-14, we like the Fins here. Take Dolphins +3 in the under. Watch the weather forecast before you make any plays. We think it's going to be cloudy and ugly. Commanders at the Cowboys, great rivalry renewed. Should be an offensive explosion. Dak is really having a great season, a little bit overshadowed, unfortunately, by the poor defensive showing. Cowboys' record doesn't reflect the year that he's having. Of course, Jayden Daniels, again, another great year. Really questionable game against the Bears. That fumble was crushing because we had, of course, picked the Commanders in that one. We do think a case could be made. Either of these two guys are the best quarterback in the NFC East, especially with the struggles that Jalen Hurts has had this season. I like the Commanders here, 31-28. It's a tough one, though. They came out even in our formula, so we wouldn't bet on this one. So hold off if you might. And the Patriots travel to Nashville to face the Titans, the scene of Mike Vrabel's success. Quite a few years of success. We wonder what the Titans are thinking. They let Derrick Henry go, traded A.J. Brown, and then let Mike Vrabel get away. For what? We don't know what's going on there. We're former Houston Oilers fans, so we don't really love the Tennessee Titans, so there's a little bias there, we'll admit it. But when we look at the Patriots team, Drake May might be the next coming of Josh Allen. Very impressive what we've seen. Are there going to be a few bumps and bruises along the way, maybe some struggles? We don't know, but he's been playing great, especially ever since around week 3 of the season. Cam Ward, we haven't seen the consistency yet. We've seen flashes of brilliance, but as we would expect from rookie quarterback, a little bit of struggles along the way. We don't think the Patriots will kill him here. We like him winning 24-17 at Nashville, as Mike Vrabel needs to prove the Titans made a mistake, let him go. Rams at the Jaguars are really in London, so versus the Jaguars, we need to correct that. Another one of the London games, but kind of is a home game for the Jaguars. They play there seemingly every season. We thought that was the most likely team that should relocate if they ever want to have a franchise in London, which we think they should. When we look at these two quarterbacks, we'll give you a hint. One of these is in our top 10 quarterbacks of 2025. Not going to tell you which, Stafford. But we look at these two guys. Trevor Lawrence just has not been consistent. We took some grief from some Jaguar fans about that, but we just haven't seen it. It was just, there's some great games, some poor games. Whereas Matthew Stafford, of course, Super Bowl champion. Watch this game closely, though. We're going to pick the Rams here. We would not bet this because the Jaguars play a little odd in London. They typically play well there, so don't touch this one. Raiders at the Chiefs, both teams coming off nice victories in the Week 6 games. When we look at what the Chiefs did against the Lions, that might have been a little bit overstated. Not to take anything away from what the Chiefs did, but the Lions totally depleted, and now they're going to be even without Brian Branch because of the punch at the pseudo fight after the game. But then we look at Pete Carroll, Geno Smith. Not sure that they've hit their stride yet. Of course, we know what Mahomes can do week in, week out, but we want to look at this game from a betting perspective. Interesting stat. Last season, the Chiefs were 0-5-1 against the spread against their division opponents. And, of course, the Raiders are an AFC West rival. So look at that. Watch it closely. We like the Chiefs here by 10. We think the Raiders will cover. Saints at the Bears. One interesting thing about the NFL is luck tends to balance itself out. Look at what happened to the Bears last year with that Hail Mary game, losing when they should have won. Then again, this past week, beating the Commanders in Washington because Jayden Daniels had that ill-timed fumble late, and the Bears were able to come back and get the game-winning field goal. When we look at Caleb Williams, and it took a while, but we're seeing improvement under Ben Johnson. We thought those two would click, and his game would improve, and we think that's going to continue the rest of the season. We think that lucky win is going to kind of spur them on to have a good second half of the season. We'd like them here 24-17 over the Saints. Bucs at the Lions. Looking forward to this matchup, although injuries are going to affect both teams here. Buccaneers missing almost their entire receiving core. Not sure if Mike Evans might be able to return. That'd be huge if he could, especially going up against a depleted Lions secondary. We're going to show you here in a little bit how depleted they really are and how this could be a vulnerability that Baker Mayfield, having an MVP caliber season, can exploit. And let's start right there with the quarterbacks. We think both these quarterbacks are great, and they are both featured in our top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL 2025. Have we promoted that enough so far in this video? A little bit, right? But we'll start with Jared Goff, who really has led the Lions to 3 to 4 successful seasons, really revived his career since coming over from the LA Rams, took that team to a Super Bowl, but still had a questionable season after that, really having a great couple of years. And Baker Mayfield, we do believe he's got to be with them a top 3 MVP candidates, as the usual suspects such as Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, not as dominant as they've been in prior seasons. So there's an opening for Baker Mayfield, but what a dog. Every game, you think the Bucs are out of it, they come back. Similarly with Jared Goff, when he's able to do that play-action pass, really dominant. They kind of exposed him a little bit when he was forced to drop back against the Chiefs. Not as impressive there. We still think that's a great offense. But let's focus here on the liabilities of the Detroit defense. We're going to talk about all the cornerbacks, defensive backs, safeties that are out. And just like what happened to them last season, the Lions' defense is in shambles. DJ Reed, brought over from the Jets, thought that improved the pass defense. He's out. Terrion Arnold, great cornerback, he's out. Kirby Joseph looks to be out. He might play. And then Brian Branch was suspended because of that fight against the Chiefs, who we mentioned a little bit earlier. And then if you look at their second string, a lot of the second string players are out as well. So they might be down to like the third string player in certain cases. So we wonder if Baker Mayfield can take advantage of this, even if his key receivers are out. He can at least get one, like Mike Evans, back. We think they could take advantage of that depleted Detroit defense. We are going to pick the Lions here to win this, but we think it'll be close. Could, in fact, be an overtime game, and we think the Bucs can cover. Currently, the line is like 5.5. Try to get that up to 6. We think with Baker Mayfield, he's going to be so competitive. We like them taking advantage of all those injuries. And before we continue, if you would, just join our channel, and if you like this video or find it useful, like it and then subscribe. We provide weekly NFL picks, highlights, and sports travel. Thank you. Packers at the Cardinals. Look at these two teams. We're not sure exactly where they're going. The Packers still lead in the NFC North. We think they're a better team now, especially with the Lions' injuries really affecting them. And then, of course, they should be getting some reinforcements with Watson returning soon to enhance that receiving core. So we think they're going to be one of the playoff teams to look out for in the NFC. We like them here 28-17 over the Cardinals. Not sure that we would make a play on this one. We think the Packers do win it comfortably in Arizona. Giants at the Broncos. Not sure how the Giants are going to do the rest of this year, but they had a great game in the game victory over the Eagles. The Eagles are a little bit off this season. Not going to discount what the Giants did. We think the potential for Jackson Dart and Scatterbo are really high. We look at the Broncos, too. Struggled against the Jets. That was a true letdown game. We don't think they were really focused on that game because the Jets, obviously, at 0-5 at the time, inferior opponent. We think they're going to bounce back into shape here at home against the Giants. We like them 27-17 over the visiting G-Men. Falcons at the 49ers. Falcons, what an impressive victory over the Bills at home, but they play completely differently at home as opposed to what they do on the road. Bijan Robinson, a great game. And that defense actually leads in many categories. They're the number one overall defense in yardage. And so if they can run the ball effectively, they should be good. But like we said, they're far better indoors in that Mercedes-Benz Stadium and as opposed to going outdoors on the road. We like the 49ers here in a close one, 24-21 over the Falcons. Panthers at the Jets. Panthers with that impressive victory over the Cowboys at home. But if you look at what they've done this season, they are completely different at home as opposed to on the road. On the road, they lose badly, and they win at home. They're 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road. Justin Fields and the Jets, they've not put together a complete game yet, but we hate to use the term due, but we definitely feel like they are due to eke out a close victory, maybe a lucky win on a turnover here. Bryce Young's definitely turnover prone on the road. So we think we're going to go with the dog here. Dog pick of the week. We like the Jets here, 24-21 over the Panthers. Eagles at the Vikings. This is going to be a position reversal. We think the Eagles are really in dangerous territory here. They're not playing. They don't seem to have the same unity they had last season. Jalen Hurts isn't as accurate, isn't as consistent as he was in the Super Bowl winning season, and we wonder if there's some dysfunction there. Teammates not getting along. The defense lost a lot of key personnel in the offseason, and look at their stats. They're even on the points scored, points allowed. The Vikings, we don't know who's going to be a quarterback, but we look at their overall statistics. They're a little bit better, and that home field advantage is huge, one of the loudest crowds in the NFL. So we like the Vikes here, 21-17 over the Eagles. Texans at the Seahawks. Fully admit it, Texans fan here, so might be a little bit biased. But when we look at these two teams, we see offensive potential and defensive dominance. They're both in the top 5 in scoring defense and total defense. And we think if C.J. Stroud has a little bit more time to throw the ball, this is an underrated team that we think can go a long way, especially with some of the traditional AFC powers. The Bills struggling and Ravens struggling a little bit this season. There's room for other teams to come in. Sam Darnold, again, great season last year with Minnesota, continuing on that success this year. I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be close. I think defense is going to lead the way. But ultimately, that home field, that 12th man advantage, is going to be too much for the visiting Texans. Seahawks 24-20.
That's all for this time. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to sharing our future videos with you.